Going to get started. We may have some folks show up late. We may not. This is going to be a lesson that maybe y'all going to be able to help me more than I'm going to be able to help you. Okay? Because we're going to talk about what we're going to do during the holidays to try to avoid in 6 weeks ruining all of the good work you've done the first 46 weeks of the year. Okay? You work real hard on your diabetes for 46 weeks, and then for the last 6 weeks we take a holiday from it and we ruin everything we've done. So we're going to talk about that, and probably some of you have some better ideas than I do. So I want to get some ideas. We may not follow the script I gave you very good, but we're going to have a discussion. First off, we always like just to go over this. Types of diabetes, type 1, and that's people who do not make any insulin. They have to have insulin to live. I don't think any of you here have type 1 diabetes. Most people in the world have type 2 diabetes, which means you're making insulin, but you're not making enough, or it's not working hard enough. Well, for holidays, type 2 diabetes is a real problem because people who have type 1 can adjust their insulin doses and manage some of those big carbohydrate loads. Well, type 2 diabetes, you can't manage the carbohydrate load at all. It means when you eat a bunch of stuff, your body can't figure out what to do with it. That's what type 2 diabetes is that your body doesn't process all that sugar very well. So, this is what your blood sugar should be. When you wake up in the morning, it should be between 70 and 130. We'd like it to really be below 120 in real life. We say 130 because it's real life. Sometimes people's are, but we really don't want it to be that high. And then the really important number that nobody ever checks, but it affects people with type 2 diabetes more than anything else, especially in the holiday season, because when you eat all those carbohydrates and sugars, your blood sugar goes up to 300 and it doesn't come down for a really, really long time because you can't manage that sugar load. So you want it back down in about an hour and a half or 2 hours, under 180. And during the holidays, that's really hard. And that being up that real long time is what causes lots of problems with diabetes. Okay, we got this three-legged stool. We always talk about diet, exercise, medication. Today we're going to talk a little bit about diet, but more about self-restraint. Okay? So during the holidays, so many tempting things to eat. So much candy to eat, so much dessert to eat, so much good food to eat. Nothing but food around you, okay? Just to make y'all realize this, talk about ruining 46 weeks of hard work. The average person gains between 7 and 10 pounds between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And that's from just because we eat so much. You always got food around you during the holiday season. You got it around at parties. You got it at your house. At Maddox Drugs, you come by Maddox Drugs starting about the day after Thanksgiving, we got a dessert buffet set up there. Right? It's true. People, we got some of the nicest customers in the world. They're always bringing us stuff to eat. We don't want to hurt their feelings, so what do? We eat it. We don't want to be ugly. So that's a real problem. And the same thing happens to you. People bring you things and you want to eat it. So you got to, during the holiday season, you got to take time to plan, decide what you can do, and then actually do it. It's a lot of self-restraint. Also, we've gotten in the holidays, instead of focusing on our friends, our families, our co-workers, things like that, all we focus on is food. Holidays is now about food. And it should be about more than food. It should be about other things. And if you substitute friends and family for food, you can avoid some of that food. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Okay, the key to surviving the holiday bulge is portion control. It's all about not eating too much. It's not saying you can't eat. We just don't want you to eat too much. And we all know what we do. We eat too much. Okay? And you think about the foods that you eat during the holiday season, and I'm not even talking about desserts and candy. I'm just talking about the food. It's stuff that's high in carbohydrates. All the foods we eat, or all those comfort foods, are high in carbohydrates. So, you know, you've got to make sure you limit your portions of those, because that's what raises your blood sugar up. So what you need to do is you know, stick with smaller portions and eat some things that are not high in carbohydrate. Vegetables, grains, water, sugar-free drinks to fill you up, things like that. And then let that, if you're eating a meal, let that settle a little bit before you get to dessert. Because what happens is, when your blood sugar goes up, you become less hungry. That's a natural reaction. That's the body's reaction. The body says, okay, my blood sugar is high, I don't need to eat anymore, so it turns off that hunger. But that doesn't happen immediately. You've got to get that blood sugar high in your system. So after you eat your meal, which hopefully you're not going to eat too much, sit there a little while and let that blood sugar rise, and then when you go to that dessert table, you won't be as hungry and you won't fill up 3 plates worth of dessert. Okay, that's just easy to do. And y'all, everybody has dinner with friends and families during the holidays, and you got some people that when you put the food out, it's kind of like pigs going to a trough. They just go eat until there's nothing left to eat. You've seen it. We've all seen it. We've all done it. Okay? You got to avoid that. And it's just so easy to do because there's so much food there and it's so good. So just try not to be a pig. Okay? So portion control. First off, you know, holiday season, especially when you have going to a party or somebody's friend's house, or you're having a dinner, desserts are always a huge part of that meal. I mean, you know, I don't know how many, when we get together, I don't know how many desserts we have, but we always have plenty of choices for desserts. So, you know, what you want to do is you want to go to that dessert table and you want to look at it and you say, okay, what do I really want? What's special? What's special over here? You know, and that's the choice you want to take. You want to take the special one, the one you really want. If there's 2 special ones you really want, you want to take some of each, but not a lot of each, okay? That way you got both of them. But don't take 1 piece of one and 1 piece of another. Take a half a piece of one, half a piece of another. Make a whole piece, okay? Take that dessert, you picked it out, you decided what you've done a good job. What you've eaten beforehand, you've managed your carbohydrates so you can have dessert. So this is your reward, so take that dessert, walk away from the dessert table, go sit down and be happy. Say, okay, I can eat this guilt-free. I don't have any problem eating this because I've done what I'm supposed to. I've made the right choice. Okay? Another thing you can do, and y'all know this, I got a lot of relatives, when they go to, they got one of these plates that they eat their food on, and it's stacked up this high. 3 layers, it's kind of like 3 layers of lasagna. And then, when they finish that, they go get another one of these plates, and they go to the dessert table, and they fill this plate up with dessert. Well, you know they make those little dishes that you're supposed to put dessert on. Get one of those little dishes and put your dessert on it. When you put a little piece on a little plate, it looks a lot bigger than a little piece on a big plate like this. It's psychological, I know, but it's true. So if you put a little piece of cake on this plate, you're going to say, well, man, I'm not eating anything. Let me put 3 more on there. Another thing you can do is, especially family get together, everybody brings stuff when your family gets together or when you go to a friend's house. You know, usually not doing one person cooks. So you need to bring some things that are more diabetic friendly. And that doesn't mean they're sugar free or carb free, but they're more diabetic friendly. There's a lot of recipes, a lot of things you can do. You know, a lot of people bake with Splenda, which is, or half Splenda, half sugar, which is even better, and that cuts your sugar in half. You can buy some things in the grocery store that are sugar-free, things like that. You can put spices in when you bake something, put some spices in it, some cinnamon, some apple spice, nutmeg, something like that to give it some flavor and have less sugar in it. One thing I do want to warn you of is sometimes sugar-free doesn't mean calorie-free or carb-free. Sugar-free can give you a false sense, okay? So just because it's sugar-free doesn't mean it's calorie-free. Because a lot of recipes have a lot of other things in it that raise your blood sugar up just as much as sugar, because bread raises your sugar up just as much as sugar. They raise it the same amount. So you could make you a cake with sugar-free Splenda, and it doesn't mean you can eat all you want. It's got less calories in it than a cake made with sugar, but it's still got all the flour in it, and the oil in it, and the butter, and whatever else we put in them. So you need to look at that and see how much total carb or calories are in the food you're eating. Okay? Now, Diane's aunt, we're not good about making sugar-free stuff. You know, her aunt can make it. She's an expert at it. And she's fanatic about it. And she makes some really, really good sugar-free desserts. I like them. And she can ask Diane, I'm really picky about desserts. Really picky. So you can do it. You just got to spend some time trying to figure out what to do. There's other alternatives, and you don't want to serve somebody as a dessert sugar-free pudding or sugar-free Jell-O, but there's things that people make with those things all the time as a base, and that lowers the calories. And you know these things that people bring. My wife brings them, my aunts, everybody brings them. They're in a glass dish, and you don't know what they are, but you know there's Jell-O pudding in them, and they're good. So those kind of things, and you can actually make that. You can actually bring that yourself, because when you go to eat somewhere, I guarantee you're not the only person there who has diabetes or who should be watching their weight. All right, when you make something, and my daddy will probably strike me dead for saying this, you can substitute certain ingredients for ingredients that are less bad for you. My father he was a master of making desserts. His mother owned a restaurant. She cooked desserts her whole life. My daddy knew how to do it. Well, when he cooked anything, his recipe always started out with heavy cream, butter, and a bunch of sugar. That was the three main ingredients he already started out with. And, you know, it was really good. He would have died if you had made something 2% milk. You know. So, but you can do that, because I do it. I make some of his recipes, and I make it with you know, lower fat, lower calorie ingredients. And they may not be quite as good as his, but if I used them, it wouldn't be quite as good as his either, because I'm not the cook he was. But you know, substitute some of those things are really bad for you when you make something. Bobby, she's not here today, but she taught me this years ago. When you're making biscuits or muffins or cake or a lot of other things, she would put applesauce in it instead of to replace half the oil. Or, in her case, she would make biscuits and she would replace the shortening with it, which is really bad for you. And you know, Bobby Whitehead taught me that 20 years ago. You know, and it worked pretty good. You can do that with cakes and other things. Just have to experiment with it. Okay. I know a lot of you are not members of the Cool Whip generation, but me and Diane are members of the Cool Whip generation. You're a member of the Cool Whip generation, aren't you? Yeah. You know, when anybody, when you go to eat and they got some dessert and you say, well, how do you make this? And they all say, well, you start with a tub of Cool Whip. That's how all the recipes start. And then you add something to it. And Cool Whip is really not that bad for you. I mean, it's got calories in it. And you look at the sugar-free Cool Whip and the regular Cool Whip, there's not a lot of difference in calories in either of them, because they put other stuff in the sugar-free to make it taste better. It's one of those tricks. So, and if you just put my daddy would not use Cool Whip, God forbid that. He made his own, you know, whipped cream. And you can put that on it, but don't make a dish with it. But you can put a tablespoonful of whipped cream on it if you've got to have whipped cream. That's fine. But just make your choices. But, you know, as long as you don't eat too much of it, those kind of dishes which we have, especially because we got a bunch of 30-year-olds who that's the only way they can't cook anything, except for go to Ingles. That's how they usually cook it. But, and again, just keep your portions small. You can eat it. Keep your portions small. And sometimes you have sauces that you put on things. You can still use those. You got to count the calories. You got to look at how many calories it is, and don't drown it in. You know, don't drown it in chocolate sauce or raspberry sauce or strawberry sauce or something like that. You can drizzle a little bit on there. It's got carbohydrates. It's got sugar in it, and you can find some in the grocery store that's low in sugar. It tastes all right. So that's another thing. If you go to somebody's house, they're probably not going to have it. But if you're doing it, you can actually substitute that. So just remember, when you pour something on top of a dessert that has a lot of carbohydrates in it, it's adding more carbohydrates. It's kind of like when you get turkey and you pour gravy on it, which who can eat turkey without gravy? The turkey's not going to raise your blood sugar, but the gravy will. So you got to think about that. So limit the amount of gravy you use. Don't say don't use it, just limit it. It's all about portion control.
The dressing and the rice will add a little carbohydrate to it.
It's all about portion control. And then dips, you know, y'all all know how to make dips are low in calories. You know, you start with something like, you know, fat-free sour cream, Greek yogurt, fat-free cream cheese, something like that. And you add some sort of salad dressing mix or soup mix or some sort of spices to it. You know, make French onion dip by crushing up some onions is what we do, and mix it in there and put a little bit of mayonnaise in it. You know, that's, as long as you don't eat too much of it, it's not bad for you. So, you know, that's another thing you can bring. You can actually make some dip and bring some dip and some vegetables for somebody to eat, or, you know, some whole grain crackers to eat with the dip. Something like that. That's just an idea of something for you to bring. Or to look for, because somebody else may have brought it. Okay, so let's just think about this. It's the day before Thanksgiving, and you're going to Aunt Emma's house for Thanksgiving dinner. You've been going there for 35 years, okay? You know what you're having. You've had it for 34 years, okay? I can tell you what we're having this Thanksgiving. I can tell you exactly what we're going to have. And so can you. So start thinking about it the day before. Now, what am I going to do when I get there, okay? So I can enjoy myself. Well, you know, we always talk. A lot of times with Thanksgiving, you know, we have these plates. We don't have those round ones that you can divide into 3 parts. You got these square ones, and it's got a bunch of containers in them, okay? So, but this big part, half the plate should always be something that's really low in carbohydrates. That would be like vegetables. And we usually have vegetables at Thanksgiving dinner. You know, usually do. And then you can have like a bigger part for your meat, because your meat, unless you drown it in gravy, won't raise your blood sugar. Okay? Especially turkey, it won't raise your blood sugar. And then this little part you want to have for your carbohydrates, okay? Because you're going to have to, if you want to eat some dessert, you're going to have to cut down somewhere. And, you know, at our Thanksgiving dinner, we're going to have, the carbohydrates we're going to have is we're going to have dressing, high in carbohydrates. We're going to have rice. We're going to have macaroni and cheese. We're going to have potatoes. Sweet potatoes also. We're going to have cranberry sauce. We're going to have sweet tea, which is the real killer of the meal, okay? Sweet tea, you might as well just eat 2 pieces of cake and spit the sweet tea. It's a little loaded with sugar. And nobody ever drinks 1 glass, do they? I'm probably the only person here who drinks unsweetened tea. And I just developed a taste for it because it has so much sugar in it. And I like it now. I used to not like it, but that's what I drink. But a lot of places you go, they don't have unsweetened tea when you go to Aunt Emma. She doesn't know what unsweetened tea is. And she doesn't know how to make tea with artificial sweetener. She only knows how to make it with 3 scoops of sugar. So that's one thing you really need to avoid, is that drink that has a lot of sugar in it, because that's just pure empty calories.
And you eat rolls.
Yeah, and the rolls. Yeah, the rolls. I forgot the rolls. Yeah, we always have rolls too. And skip the rolls. That's an easy one to skip, because you know you can have a roll any day, but you know you can't have that dressing any day. You just can't. You don't have those sweet potatoes any day.
Gene says you can trade out the rolls with dressing.
That's right. I'm going to eat the dressing. I am. I'm going to eat that. But you know, I'm not going to eat a whole plate of it. But I'm going to eat it. Yeah. I'm going to eat the dressing, and I'm going to eat some rice, because I love those two. Now, different people like different things. My children want to eat macaroni, and they want to eat potatoes. You know. I don't eat macaroni, so remember, fill half that plate up with vegetables. Find some vegetables there, fill it up with vegetables, and then fill the rest in with meat and carbs. And you'll be fine. But what you want to do is, fill that plate up, one layer, go to the table, eat it, and take this plate and go to the trash can and throw it in the trash can. That way, you won't go back to the table. It's a little bit of a problem sometimes because people get insulted because you don't eat what they brought. You know, Irene brought this dish and I didn't eat it. What you don't? She says, "But don't you like that, Steve?" Well, yeah, I like it, but I've already filled my plate up. I've eaten my meal. You know, and some people's feelings get hurt. And I've hurt people's feelings before because I won't eat what they bring. It's not because I don't eat it. It's because I've eaten all I need to eat. I've actually eaten more than what I need to eat, let's be honest. But I give myself that 50% buffer because it's Thanksgiving. Okay? So remember that. A lot of people want to say, well, they say the day before, okay, I'm going to go to eat Thanksgiving. I'm not going to eat anything for supper tonight. Just a little bit. And in the morning, I'm not going to eat anything. Then I can go to Thanksgiving dinner and I can eat like a pig. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So you can't save calories. Okay? You can't save them up. It's not like a battery. It doesn't hold a charge. So don't think you can skip a couple of meals. It's going to be okay, because when you eat that stuff, it's going to raise your blood sugar way up. It's going to stay up for a long time. Another thing to do, especially whether, like if you're going to a little party or something like that, before you start eating any sweets or before you drink any alcohol, you want to eat some protein and some complex carbohydrates. That's carbohydrates that are harder to dissolve, like crackers that have grain in them or vegetables or something like that. And what that does is slows down the digestion. Okay? It slows down the digestive tract. Because if you don't do that, when you eat that dessert, it absorbs really quick because it's not complex. Desserts are made with like flour and sugar, and that stuff's already broken down so it can go into your bloodstream. You really don't even have to digest it hardly. It just goes right into your bloodstream. So you get those, what we call complex carbohydrates, which is like whole grains and vegetables and things like that, that are hard for your body to digest. It slows down that digestion. So it makes that, you know, we always talk about how that blood sugar when you eat goes like this and comes back down. Well, if you digest it slower, it goes up really slower and your body can handle it better. It goes up in a slower line, but if you do it all at one time, it goes way up. It takes a long time to come down. So, you know, when you go to like a party where there's got a whole table full of foods that are forbidden, but you're going to eat some of them, don't start on the stuff that raises your blood sugar. Eat something else first. I know that sounds silly to eat something before you eat something, but eat something. And that way you won't be as hungry when you go to the dessert table either. Because it's kind of like going to the grocery store. Never go to the dessert table hungry. Never go to the dessert table hungry. And if you drink sugar-free, anything that's sugar-free, that fills you up too. Drinking is a good, I didn't say that right. Drinking is a good plan for when you're going to a party. No. Drinking something sugar-free is really helpful when you're going to a party. Drinking can get you in trouble if you go to a party. Okay, and I just basically talked about this, that plan your meal before you go. Just like I say, most of you know what you're going to have for Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner, because you've done it forever and ever. So before you even go, decide what you're going to eat and what you're going to get. So, you know, when I go, I'm going to have some turkey. I'm going to pass on the ham because it's got fat in it, and that's going to raise my blood sugar some. So I'm going to pass on that, but I'm going to have some dressing. I'm going to have a little bit of rice. I'm going to have a deviled egg. And deviled eggs not too bad for raising your blood sugar. That's not too bad. I always have a deviled egg. Have some green beans. I have some peas. I skip the roll. I skip the tea. And then I have one piece of dessert. And my favorite is the worst for you. Is pecan pie. I love pecan pie. And you know, pecan pie is like eating a bowl of sugar.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
I just eat the pecan.
It's my true weakness.
It's the only dessert I can cook.
So I'm gonna have pecan pie. I may not have anything yet, but I'm gonna have pecan pie. But you know, what I do, the crust in that has a lot of calories in it. So I always break the back side off, and I don't eat that. That takes some of it away. And I may not eat all the bottom crust. But that's gooey stuff with the pecans in it, I ain't never get of that.
That's the best part.
That's the best part. So you can eat the best part, and you can leave the crust there. And
It still don't make it no better. Might as well eat the crust.
oh no, it does. It makes you use. The crust has a lot of calories in it.
Maybe not good.
A lot of oil. So some of these desserts are really huge pieces, okay? So, you know, you don't have to get a huge piece and eat it. You can get a huge piece. You don't have to eat it all. Or better, you can cut that huge piece, cut a portion part of it off, and put that on your plate and eat all of it. Whichever you care to do. But you don't have to eat all of it because, you know, now, in my family and Diane's family have different eating habits. My family will eat some dessert. We will skip a meal, but we will eat some dessert because that's the way my daddy raised us. He loved dessert. And there's no such thing as a small piece of anything. So you got to cut that piece down just a little bit. Okay, I think it was Nancy Reagan that started the Just Say No campaign, wasn't it? Am I right on that? She was talking about drugs, but we're going to talk about just say no to carbohydrates, okay? You got to say just say no when you go to these things. And the first no is say no to seconds. And I know you're going to upset some people when they say, well, don't you want more? Steve, don't you want another plate? Aren't you hungry? You not like what I ate? You say, no, I'm full. You say, no, I'm full. Second is, you don't need to make 3 layers on your plate. One layer of this plate is more than what you normally eat. So if you fill one layer of this plate up, that's going to be more than what you normally eat. So I know we like to fill it up 3 times, but just say no to that. Extra frosting, extra toppings on stuff, be careful with that. And I actually do this. When I get one of those big pieces of cake, I always cut the bunch of the icing off the top, maybe some of them off the side. There's plenty of icing in between the layers to make me happy. And it cuts down, there's tons of calories in that frosting, especially if you make it the way it's supposed to be made. With heavy cream, sugar, butter.
Cool wheel.
Yeah. No, my family don't make anything with Cool Whip.
I do.
Hers does.
They add sugar to the Cool Whip.
That's why we have so much heart disease in our So, and a friend of mine just mentioned this to me last night. He had gained a little weight. We weren't even talking about diabetes. We were just talking. We were working at Open Arm Clinic last night. He says, I've just gotten where I get home I just absent-mindedly just eat and eat and eat. I don't even know I'm doing it. He says, I just go by and pick something up, and the next thing I know, I'm eating it. He said, you know, I can't figure out what to do about that. He said, I got to find something to do to keep that from doing it. So a couple things you can do when you go somewhere is put a low or no calorie drink in one hand. So that one hand is occupied. And instead of picking something up, you'll be drinking that. Take your napkin and put it in the other hand. That way the other hand is occupied. And you just can't, because you pick stuff up and don't even know you're doing it. We all do it. You know, it's easy to do. You just, especially as you walk by there and you see those chips over there, chips and salsa, you just walk over and get it up. You know, it's what we do. So if you got something in both hands, it's a little bit harder to do. And it doesn't look funny. It just looks like you got a drink in one hand and a napkin in the other hand. So, you know, think about that. And, you know, look at that dessert table. Look at it hard and decide what you really want to eat. And when you decide what you really want to eat it. Be happy. You deserve it, okay? You're a human being. You deserve pleasure just like everybody else. You should have no guilt about eating something you want as long as you plan for it. Some people feel guilty about it, but you know, you shouldn't feel guilt about it. Another thing you can do is offer to bring a dessert. And if it's one you like, you can eat it and you can make it so it's lower in calories. You know what's in it. That's an easy thing to do for dessert. Unfortunately, I've always made Diane bring pecan pie, which is the worst thing. So I kind of blow that. I don't think you can make pecan pie with splitting, can you?
It doesn't feel quite like
So portion control and just saying no, that's really the things, and planning ahead. That's the three things you got to plan ahead, portion control, and just say no. That's all you need to get out of this, people. If you can remember that, you can have a good time. Okay? And this is our biggest problem, you know, is grazing. You know, we go to these big dinners, and you got a big table full of stuff there, especially this, like, I know we have all our employees over in the store at Christmas time, and we have all this food, you know, finger food out for people before we eat. And we all graze. Every 2 minutes, somebody's walking over there, picking something up and eating it. So before we've even started eating our dinner, much less dessert, we've eaten 2,000 calories. You know. Yeah, and appetizers. So, you know, don't graze. Just get your little plate, put something on it, and leave the area and go somewhere else. Don't hide. Go over and talk to somebody. Be friendly. Pretend like you like your sister. Okay, that kind of thing. So, you know, don't, like I said, that's a real problem, is grazing. And I've actually gone over this already, so we need to stop that. One thing you got to be careful of is whatever drink they're serving at wherever you go. And you know, people make like punch and eggnog and all kinds of concoctions that you can drink. Spiced tea, oh yeah. Well, you don't really know how much calories are in that. And when you ask them, say, is this sugar free? They'll say, oh, I didn't put any sugar in it. That doesn't mean it's sugar free. It could be made with lots of things that already have tons of sugar in them. So, you know, you need to know what it is you're actually drinking. Okay? And stuff like Diane makes spiced tea, and it's really good, but it's loaded in sugar. It's really good. But, you know, those are the kind of things, when you make this, they're all the time making punch for everything. They're making punch, and it's got grapefruit juice in it, and pineapple juice in it, and Sprite in it, or Hawaiian punch in it. Well, all those things got sugar in it. So you say, well, is this sugar free? Oh, no, I didn't put any sugar in it. No, but everything you put in it is full of sugar. So watch out for those bowls of punches. And eggnog, I don't know if anybody really likes eggnog. It's something we drink at Christmas because you're supposed to drink it. I've never known anybody who says, man, I just love eggnog. But now, obviously there are people who do. But it's really loaded in calories and fat. It's a double whammy. And if you can dilute stuff with sparkling water, you can dilute wine. You know, they serve that in bars. It's fancy when you dilute wine with sparkling water. You know, dilute your punch with that. You know, and I don't know about you. This is probably another generation. All the people who work for me, they drink flavored coffee. They don't drink coffee like I drink. They don't drink it that's thick and black. They drink flavored coffee. And you know, if you can drink flavored coffee with no sugar in it, you know, it tastes good. And it's fine. You know, that's a good choice to have. Lions Club had a yard sale, and my employees found a Keurig coffee maker at the yard sale, so we bought it. They wanted to know if I'd buy that for them. So now, every time I turn around, people who I've never seen drinking coffee are going back there and making coffee, but they're making those flavored coffees. You know, so you can make flavored coffee, and a lot of places you go to will have it, and that's a good choice as long as you don't put sugar in it.
There's a lot of flavored creamers that you can buy
Yep.
in the dairy case.
Yep.
And there are a lot of low-fat flavored creamers. You have to look at those carbohydrates though, even with those. But at least that would give you some in small portions added to your taste.
Now, let me say something, if you drink a lot of coffee though, because I do, and I use Coffee Mate, if that's what it is. But if you put one of those, get a flavored one, it's like 25 to 35 calories for a serving, which is like a couple tablespoons or tablespoon. If you get the just low fat, regular, it's 10 calories.
Right.
So, you know, when you're getting the coffee creamers, even if it's a powdered kind, you really have to look. And if you drink a lot of coffee, Steve and I drink a lot of coffee. I put creamer in mine, and I use Splenda instead of Ron Fisher and stuff. Not Splenda, Stevia. Not sweet because I like it sweet. But be careful with your creamers because you can add a lot of calories. He even said, well, like my son-in-law, he said, well, I don't use any sugar or sweetener. I just use creamer. But if you look how much he uses, and he uses those flavored ones, so he's probably putting 50 calories worth of creamer in his
Creamer in there.
coffee. So that can add up.
All that coffee you drink, was it got caffeine in it?
I actually now do half and half. I used to drink straight, but after I had a heart problem, I drink half and half. I can't drink just plain decaf, but I can drink half and half. I can drink half and half. So
I don't have anything with caffeine,
yeah.
unless it's chocolate.
We put cinnamon in our coffee, which is, and we never know when Six Friends mention
I heard
that.
cinnamon was good.
Cinnamon's supposed to be good.
But we put 2 scoops of coffee in, and we sprinkle a little cinnamon in. We put 2 more scoops of coffee in. We put it in between the layers. Just sprinkle a little cinnamon in it.
Like brew it.
And brew it. It's quite tasty. It's different anyway, you know. Something a little bit different. don't want to do it every day, but every once in a while, you know.
I drink a little coffee with my sugar, so it's a little easier for me not to have so much sugar when we're sitting.
And I drink coffee any way I can get it. I just, you know, I've never met a cup of coffee I didn't like, and there's no way you can fix it I don't like it. Now, alcohol. It's important to remember about alcohol, how it affects you if you have diabetes. First off, it's okay to have some alcohol if you go to a party. Women should limit themselves to 1 drink, men 2. But what alcohol does when you drink it is, it first raises your blood sugar a whole lot because it's carbohydrate basically. So it raises your blood sugar. Then over time, because your liver is busy processing that alcohol, breaking it down, getting it out of your system, it quits controlling your blood sugar because your liver controls your blood sugar a lot. So it's working on that alcohol, not working on taking sugar out of your bloodstream or putting it back in your bloodstream. So you can actually several hours later make your blood sugar low if you drink too much alcohol. So the secret is just, and we all know that, never drink alcohol on an empty stomach because you don't want to absorb it real quick. And don't drink too much, okay? That's just a no-brainer, but that's something to remember, especially if you have diabetes, because alcohol does funny things to you. It does the opposite of other things. It will raise your blood sugar up, and then several hours later it drops down too low. So,
It's probably not good with maybe some medication.
yeah, and it affects the way that some of the medication works. Like metformin, which works on the liver and helps control your blood sugar. And you know, you can dilute an alcoholic drink down with sparkling water, or have less, or if you have a glass of wine, dilute it down, or just not have as much. It's not that hard. You just got to say no, like Nancy Reagan said. And then, we've already touched on this, I get out of whack on this, but you know, when you drink those traditional holiday drinks, whether it's punch or eggnog or alcohol or whatever else somebody has made, you know, if you want to drink some and you know it's got a lot of sugar in it, just don't drink very much, drink a half a glass, you know, drink a half a cup, because it's empty calories, you know. Other stuff's at least not empty calories, but it's empty calories. So, you know, that stuff you know is really bad for you. Just drink a half a cup if you really want it. And you gotta have it. That's a choice you make. Just, you know, figure it into what you eat. It's all in planning and portion control. All right, and I'm gonna tell you about this. It's gonna sound awful silly, but it works. Okay, when you're going to a holiday dinner, a holiday party, a holiday get-together, whatever we call them, whoever you're going with, they're most likely in the same shape as you are. They don't need to eat too much. I don't know many of us who don't need to cut down on what we eat, as a general rule. So y'all need to talk and say, okay, I'm making sure you look after me, I'm going to look after you. I'm going to hold you responsible for what you eat. If you put too much on your plate, I'm going to call it to your attention. If I put too much on my plate, you call it to my attention. It's kind of peer pressure. It works, doesn't it? What happened when you were in cardiac rehab if you didn't come? When you were in cardiac rehab, if you didn't show up, what happened? They called you, didn't they? Hubert, where are you? Oh, I'll be right there. That's what they do. I couldn't go to rehab this morning because I had to come here. You know what I had to do it's 7:30 this morning. I had to call them. I said, Amanda, I'm not going to be able to come today. I got something else I have to do. She said, okay. But you know, I had to actually, I just couldn't blow them off. So you'd be surprised how much easier it makes you to conform to what you need to do if you got to ask somebody else for permission to do it. It works. And I wouldn't go to cardiac help 3 days a week if I didn't have to call them and say, oh, I'm not coming. But I'm afraid to call them because they'll fuss at you. Won't they? They will. They'll get at you. They'll come to your house and pick you up. Especially that short little mean one. The one with the whip. So, you know, try to be accountable. Have a partner and be accountable. Also, you after you eat, I know most of us do after we eat. We eat a big meal. If it's Thanksgiving, we eat a big meal. And we do that for an hour. Don't talk to anybody, and you get up and say, "Well, I got to go." That's what we do. Now, it's true, isn't it? Who does that here? Yeah, Bill does. I know.
Has tryptophan, that's your sleep.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do. That's what you do. So what you need to do is go over to somebody's house. They've decorated their house up. They got the yard all fixed up. What you got to do is say, hey, let's go outside and look at the yard. Let's look at so-and-so stuff. It's not being rude. Some other people say, yeah, I'm going to go with you too. And you go outside and you walk around for a little while. That gets some of that stuff going, some of that blood sugar burned up. It gets you woke up, gets you moving a little bit. You know, it gets you away from that dessert table. Okay? And then hopefully by the time you get back, the people who don't know as much as you do, they've eaten all the desserts and they're all gone. So you have no more temptation. Find something to do. You know, when we get together now, we got a bunch of little, you know, we got a new generation coming along, and we got a bunch of grandchildren or great-grandchildren there. So, you know, you can go, they always want somebody to play with. And it's fun to play with as long as you don't have to do it too long. So, you know, play with the grandchildren a little while, get you going, get you moving, get your food digested. So, you know, do stuff like that. But, you know, it's easy to do. It's not hard to do, especially if you got somebody to do it with you. And then if you got nobody to do it with you, call your friend and say, listen, this is what I'm going to do. You tell them what you're going to do. You don't have to write it down. So this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to eat. This is what we're having for dinner. This is what I'm going to eat. When I get back, I want you to call me. Because I'm not going to call you. I want you to call me and say, hey, how was your dinner? What did you eat? And then, you know it's coming. So when you fill that plate up, you're not going to go back for seconds because you don't want your brother to call you up and say, hey, what'd you eat? Yeah, well, I had that piece of pecan pie, and it was really good, but that chocolate cake was looking good too. So I had one of those. And then that punch, I had to have some of that too. I said, well, how many calories was that? It was about 4,000 calories. So I know that sounds silly, but I guarantee, you know, having somebody that you're accountable to besides yourself, because you can always make excuses for yourself. But it's hard to make excuses for somebody else. And you may not want to check your blood sugar when you at somebody's dinner. You may not want to check your blood sugar when you at a party. When you come home, check your blood sugar and see how high it is. And if it's really high, you need to do something like, if it's nighttime, walk around your house for 45 minutes. If it's daytime, go outside and walk if the weather's nice. You got to exercise bicycle, ride that. Do something to burn some calories because that will bring your blood sugar down. And most likely, you know, when you get home 2 hours afterwards, if you eat too much, your blood sugar will still be too high. Easiest way to get blood sugar down is doing some exercise. And I'm not talking about calisthenics. I'm just talking about doing some exercise. You know, what's that show, Mama Boo Boo, Baby Boo Boo? What is it?
Thank you.
Honey Boo Boo. I don't know if y'all familiar with this show. I've actually ever seen it. But I read about it. And this woman, who is obviously fairly heavy,
Mama Jean.
when they started filming the show, she lost a huge amount of weight just because during the filming of the show, she actually had to get up because she never got up off the sofa. She had to get up and do stuff. And she actually lost weight just by walking around like a normal person, which is amazing to me, you know. But, you know, just walking around will lower your blood sugar. It's easy to do. So, you know, so think about that. You know, if you go somewhere to eat and you make a bad choice and the blood sugar gets too high, it's not the end of the world. Don't let it destroy you, you know. Just try to learn from it, because you're going to have another dinner a week later and another one a week later. So, you know, just try to learn from it and be determined to do better next time. And then, you know, we all, me included, don't spend enough time focusing on our friends and family. I think it's a generational thing. I think people used to they spent more time with their family because they didn't have the internet, they didn't have an iPhone, they didn't have cable TV, you know, they didn't have all those things. So we don't spend as much time with the people we love. So, you know, take the opportunity to do that instead of eating. And you may think, hey, this is a great thing. That's all I got for y'all today. Do I have some suggestions?